What up, y'all, and welcome to Daytona International Speedway for the Corsair duel races to decide who will make the 2023 NRSL Digital Storm Cup Series Daytona 500. On pole for the first time in series history is a Dodge, and it's in the form of Front Row Motorsports driver Trey Smith, driving the number 38 Bang Energy Dodge. This car actually won the Daytona 500 in 2021 with Osman Hamid. And Trey Smith drove the 36 car for this team last year. He is now in the 38. So we'll see what he's got. I'm joined by my boy Vince Freeze, and we are hoping Trey Smith keeps his car in one piece if he is to keep that front row starting position.
Yeah, man, this is Daytona. The pack is back under the lights, 30 laps, quick hot duel race, I like to say. We saw a fantastic finish last year. Let's see if we can repeat that performance this year here in 2023.
And we have actually never had the front row starters have to start off the front row due to a wreck race car because we've only had dual races for 3 years, 2017, 2021, and 2022. 2018 to 2020 dual races were not run. Let's go trackside real quick for the command to start engines for Duel 1.
Drivers, start your engines.
Next to next to Trey Smith is Corey Riggs, who is also locked into the field on time no matter what. We've got a new system this year for the Go Home cars. Top four locked in on speed, and through each dual race, the top four Go Home cars will race in. And this year we made sure that it's even in each dual race. There's 15 Go Home cars here in Duel 1, and there's 15 in Duel 2 versus previous years where we had, I think, maybe 14 in one duel and 10 in the other duel, and it was not even. So this year the odds have been evened. In row 2 is Skylar Taylor, who's got a chance to fall back on speed alongside Ace Rogers. Row 3, Rob Evans, Alex Ferranti. Row 4, Jesse Turner, Dylan Young. And then row 5, another pair of Go Home drivers, Enzo Nareza and Quentin Moore, both of which have a chance to fall back on speed as well. As we go green here in Corsair Duel number 1, the other drivers that could fall back on speed in this duel, it's just Corey Raymond in the 82 car. So we'll be keeping track of the speed chart here, especially at the end of this duel race, as they are going to go 3 wide here for the race lead coming out of turn 4. Vince,
Solid start.
Vince, last year, right, we had a crash right at the white flag in duel number 1. And then in duel number 2, we went green all the way. I believe the duel races were 20 laps apiece last year, Vince. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, they were 30.
They were 30? Okay, yeah, so it was quite the dual race weekend, or night, I guess I should say, last year. And then we had great finishes in Jerky Pro and Digital Storm.
Ooh, 4
But
wide.
they are 4 wide right now. That's Enzo Nareza and Dylan Young in the middle.
Ooh, they're going to keep it together. Good move by Oskin. We saw Vince Freeze did it last year, hang around the back, and it worked.
Yeah, indeed. It worked very well for Vince Freeze.
Still banging 4 wide. Still 4 wide. Evans up top.
They're going to have a chance here to clear it because Evans will back out. Young will get to move up, and the 4 wide situation has been resolved. So a bit hairy there for about half a lap. Skylar Taylor currently in the race lead. As Jesse Turner looks for the point.
See them hitting the wall for 4 there. It's just typical Daytona.
Coming to the front right now, Vince is a driver that has to make the race via a top 4 go-or-go-home position, and that's the 39 of Lucas Catano, and he's also followed by Scott Roush, who has to race his way in.
Yeah, desperation will start sitting in, but it's early. Usually when you get to lap 20 to 30, that's when you really start to need to go. I think it's just about finding your lines. We don't know exactly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the top side, as the run goes on, will get better.
Yes, yeah, as the top side goes on. Now, all these cars, Vince, for the dual races, they are good to go on fuel. They gave these guys bigger gas tanks for the dual races, as we're going to go 4 wide again. Oh, and that's not going to work. Scott Roush is going to get turned in front of the field, and it's the big one. Jessica Shelton is up and over, barrel rolling down the straightaway.
Oh, that's violent. That is violent.
Big crash here in duel number 1. Trey Smith is damaged and involved. Oh, and he just creamed. Who is that? Oh, there are cars upside down everywhere. Corey Raymond and Vince, for the first time ever, a front row starter is going to have to go to the tail. That 38 car is done. He might have had a chance if he didn't hit the 82, but it's done now. Skylar Taylor leads them. Corey Riggs, Dylan Young, Lucas Catano, top 4. 3 of those drivers go-or-go-home territory. Turner is the 5th car across the line, and he's got a destroyed car.
Freeman Jr. looks all right.
Enzona Reza, Seth Cole, Bradley Ream, Ace Rogers, Charles Sanford. I think Stephen Waters, I think, has a little damage. I think Ferranti, Kev Shearer, they have damage. There's Dennis Moore, Corey Raymond, Scott Roush, Sebastian Kukulon, Laura Chung has retired. There's Shelton. There's last year's Daytona 500 winner, Alexander Rowe. They're going to call it a day. Go to a backup. Rob Evans, Derek Hamill involved. And then, of course, our pole sitter, Trey Smith, who can barely go faster than the pace car right now. Well, Vince, that was the huge one here in duel number 1. It will not be a repeat of last year. Now we're going to see who's pitting for damage. Everyone can make it on fuel. As previously mentioned, Jesse Turner will be one of those drivers. And yeah, look at this. Ace Rogers, Charles Sanford, Quentin Moore, Ferranti, Kev Shearer, and Dennis Moore. So won't have a clear idea of what the go-or-go-home picture here is in duel 1, but man, Jessica Shelton went for a ride. Corey Raymond will bring it down pit road, and Trey Smith has called it a race here in duel 1. So Vince, officially for the first time, the pole sitter will not start on the pole.
Yeah, now, if you're someone in this pack, you know winning this race means guaranteed pole. I think the aggression will be a little bit tamer, but the determination will be higher for sure. Let's see a replay.
Taking a look at the replay for the first caution here in Corsair duel number 1, you see Scott Roush move up to let Alexander Rowe make a move. But there just wasn't enough room. Roush gets himself turned down off of Lucas Catano, and then Rowe has nowhere to go. Rowe's going to try to straighten him out here, but the speed has just dropped so much. Look at Jessica Shelton, Jesse Turner. Roush gets up off the ground, and Shelton immediately starts to barrel roll as Trey Smith spins down the track. Everyone starts making evasive action. Dennis Moore can do nothing. And man, look at that. Corey Raymond was just pinned underneath Scott Roush. Down in the turn 1 as Shelton barrel rolls violently. And then they start piling in some more. Rowe going around. Laura Chung involved. Sebastian Kukulon. Look at Shelton's car up in the air off of Alexander Rowe. And you see Roush is still stuck on top of somebody. Now it's Rob Evans. Roush eventually comes to rest here. Almost had a chance of landing back on all 4 wheels, but ends up flipping over. You see Tringali in the grass. Shelton's car destroyed. Corey Raymond destroyed. Derek Hamill Kukulon. Let's see what happened to the 45 here. He ended up getting a toe. Oh, and I think he went to try to go up the track, and he just stopped due to Scott Roush. And yep, right there, he's going to beach himself. So very unfortunate there for him. We'll take another look at this from a different angle. Gonna draw the focus here on Jessica Shelton. See, gets into the back at the 6, and then Nereza is the one that gets right into the passenger side door, and it just tips the O2 over right away. Can you count the barrel rolls? I got 1. I got 2.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Hang on,
11,
I
12.
think you went a little too fast there. I think we're gonna say we just lost count. Oh yeah, look at this. Alexander Rowe gets spun down the track, and wow!
What a shot.
O2 of Shelton slams into the rear windshield of Rowe, and it launches the O2 up into the air. Lands down on her roof. Is she going to do a couple more barrel rolls here? I think so. There's one right there. And came the rest on all 4 tires. As always, we've got onboards. And man, yeah, it was Tringali got into Raymond the first time, and then Trey Smith came in and hit him again. On board with last year's Daytona 500 winner, Alexander Rowe. And you can see right there, contact started between the 6 and the 39. Wow, what a sight. On board, 2-time Cup Series champion and 2019 Daytona 500 winner, Jonathan Zorlin. Oh, Oskin hooked Sebastian Kukulon up into some drivers there, and it increased the body count. Zorlin makes it through clean. On board, your pole sitter, Trey Smith, who will likely be going to the back on Sunday. Oh, wow. Damage wasn't that bad until the 7 came in sliding into the front end of the 38. But then, of course, Raymond backed up out of the dust, and Trey had no idea. That's tough. We got one more on board for you. If you get queasy from motion sickness, I recommend looking away. On board with Jessica Shelton, who won the 2020 Daytona 500. What a wild ride she got to have here. There's the launch off of Alexander Rowe, and man, the glare from the lights on the track. Oh, her dual race is over, but she's locked in, so we will see her in the Daytona 500 regardless. Getting ready to go back racing here at Daytona in duel, Corsair duel number 1. Out of the race, Nico Tringali, Jessica Shelton, Trey Smith, Rob Evans, Derek Hamill, Alexander Rowe, Laura Chung, Scott Roush, and Corey Raymond. Trey Smith will fall back on his time, but he will not get to start on the front row, which means the winner of this race will get to lead the field to the green flag. Sebastian Kukulon is a lap down. Him and Scott Roush came back out on track under caution, then went right back down pit road for repairs to avoid going 2 laps down. If another caution were to wave, Kukulon would get the free pass. Kukulon, I believe, yeah, Kukulon has to race his way in, so it's going to be pretty dire for him now. Skylar Taylor will lead the field back to the green flag. Right now, the top 4 on Go Home would be himself, Corey Riggs, Ricky Freeman Jr., and then Enzo Nereza. Actually, no, I'm sorry, Lucas Catano before Enzo Nereza. So 84, 27, 39, 78. Falling back on time here, I believe, would be the 34, 38, and 34 potentially. Potentially 34. It depends on duel number 2.
Yeah, they're starting to split Kukulon. I think he's definitely the cork in the bottle here.
In duel number 2, we've got Darrien Taun and Archibald Buttersworth, who are locked in on time. Then you've got Diego Yepes, Logan Williams, Roy Ribbleton, and Richard Johnson, who have a chance to fall back on speed, but it depends who races in. Skylar Taylor is one of those drivers in that zone of could fall back on time if need be. But right now, him and Corey Riggs, who are both in that, or Corey Riggs is locked in on speed, rather, I should say. Taylor has a chance to make it in on speed if need be. They are all up here. And you, Vince, man, we can really see right now that field's pretty stretched out. Kukulon looks to be up to speed. All of these cars are up to speed, but really slowly starting to get an idea of who can keep up in the draft, as they have not really bunched up yet, Vince. They are still single file. Corey Riggs has been ditched. Dylan Young will go to the race lead. Oh, Dylan Young about gets dumped by Lucas Catano.
Still trying to wreck even single file pretty much, as that will help
Wow.
Taylor.
I have not seen that happen at this racetrack in the Cup Series in a long time. Usually it's the 4-wide situations, Vince, these past couple of years, but Lucas Catano and Dylan Young almost made history there. First time in, I'd say, maybe 4 seasons that we've had a crash like that.
Yeah, almost 2-car tandem gone wrong. It looks like Charles Sanford and... was it Kev? I think those guys are probably going to be the cutoff mark. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell where Kukulon backed up the pack.
Yeah, Sanford, you see Stephen Waters, Turner, Ace Rogers, all trying to hold on. Lucas Catano's Raise Energy Dodge for Bulldog Motorsports looking pretty good right now. You see Ricky Freeman Jr. coming up in that 78. Top 3 right now are all go-or-go-home cars. And Catano, Vince, I believe, is trying to make sure a Dodge starts on pole after all.
Yeah, it's just to keep the old protection and brand awareness right there. But doing a good job blocking the lanes. It's all about lane placement now. You want to see more cars up top or on the bottom. That's where you go. But Taylor's going to ditch him for the lead.
And they're still only side by side at most here in the pack. So you're starting to see Alex Ferranti, Sebastian Kukulon, Dennis Moore losing touch with this main group.
Corey Riggs 3 wide underneath RFJ and Young.
So Matt Oskin, Vince, stayed at the back. He's now up here at the front.
Yeah, clean strategy. That's right. Just go to the back, wait for the wreck to unfold. Boom, get yourself in the top 5. And now here comes Kevin, that group. They're starting to catch up slowly now with the drag.
Yeah, and now halfway through this race, we're probably going to start seeing the tire wear kick in. You can see Catano with a pretty good run there off turn 2, despite having no one up against his back bumper. But on the inside line, it's Corey Riggs with a huge run on Dylan Young, and they're going to make it 4 wide for the race lead. Young, though, I think with a chance to clear Taylor here, he does just that. And they're back to 3.
There you see Mr. Two-Time back there lurking. Zorlin's quiet. He's back in the pack, though.
Jonathan Zorlin also won that Hankook Tires V8 Supercar Challenge title over the winter. Man has really come to life here these last few years. 4 wide again. That's Colt Hudson and Skylar Taylor. Oskin made a move. Hudson gets enough of a run. He'll clear it back 3 wide again as Corey Riggs leads them. Skylar Taylor, second of the go-homes. Catano, third. And then Hudson, in that same bracket, is right now 4th. And Hudson is one of the drivers that has to race in. Same thing goes for the 78 of Ricky Freeman Jr.
Just saw Stanford looking to sniff the draft. It's a veteran move right there. You know you start losing time when they start going single file, but when they keep going 3 or 4 wide, we saw that last year in the duel. 4 wide the key. You can start making big runs if they don't wreck as well.
Right now it looks like Enzo Nereza, Charles Sanford, Stephen Waters, Jesse Turner, Ace Rogers, and Quinton Moore all struggling to hold on to the draft. And that's a real shame for Quinton Moore, Vince. If he does not get the chance to fall back on speed, he is 5th out of the drivers with a chance to fall back on speed. But really probably needed to race in here. But he might get lucky here if Taylor races in. Same with Corey Riggs. That would at least bring it down to a chance of Yepes and Nereza making the race on time. Which then, if Yepes and Logan Williams were to race in, I believe would let Quinton Moore get in on time. But we will have we would have a clearer picture of that after Duel 2 ended.
I don't think he's going to be out of it at this race, but the way they're racing, if they get a couple more cars, we could see one more 4 wide. It's getting aggressive, which is interesting.
It's Catano and Riggs side by side for the race lead as the top is really starting to come into play. We see Kukalon, Dennis Moore, Ferranti all together here, running only about 10 miles an hour off the pace. Ferranti, of course, a locked-in driver, has nothing really to gain here by racing these two too hard. If these two do not race in, they are not in the show. They are both in that territory. Ace Rogers, same thing. He's locked in. Quinton Moore, just maybe hoping for a miracle here. Turner and Stephen Waters, of course, also locked in. This 24 car driven by James Ellison last year. Ellison dipping back down to Jerky Pro. So Waters, a newbie driver, is going to be locked in for the first 4 races of the season. As you see now, Charles Sanford and Enzo Nereza are starting to lose touch. And
12
again,
cars for the win. Yep.
Again, Nereza's benefit here will be if Riggs and Taylor race in. Now, looking at the front runners, Vince, the go home cars that we have up here are the 78, 88, 93, 27, 39, and 84, as they're going to go 4 wide. That's Seth Cole and Dylan Young. So we got 6 cars up here racing for 4 positions. And out of them, Bradley Ream, Lucas Catano, Colt Hudson, and Ricky Freeman Jr., all 4 of those have to race in. Only Riggs and Taylor have a chance here to fall back on speed, which the only way Taylor will definitely fall back on speed is if Riggs is one of the top 4.
Aggressive in the beginning, but I think they're starting to settle out, man. 4 wide just isn't going to work with 12. They know it.
Definitely not, Vince. And right now, it really looks like, to me personally, the 39, 84, and the 27 appear to have the best cars here in Duel number 1. Dylan Young, of course, has been up here as well. The rest have kind of just had nowhere really to go yet to make that move that they need to start passing cars and get towards the front of the group. And especially with the tire wear, Vince, it's becoming harder to keep up that momentum in the middle lane and the bottom lane.
Seth Cole's going to give a big push to RFJ, but that outside's prevailing because he's Sanford, and then they've lost it.
Yeah, Nereza lost it too with Sanford there.
Seth
is going to do it again, but no grip there right on corner exit. We have the chance here, Vince. The only Dodge up here that could win this duel race and start on the pole, actually 2 Dodges, would be Catano and Colt Hudson. Trying to save it for Dodge here. As far as the record books go, it will go down as a Trey Smith pole. That won't show up on the standings, of course, due to the way Score 4 works, but it will go down as a Trey Smith pole. Just had to fall to the back. Big
Corey Riggs
run.
leads now.
Big move there by Corey Riggs going into turn 3. He's just about clear of Lucas Catano. And now Dylan Young makes it 3 wide in the middle. That might help Corey Riggs clear, and it does indeed. 7 laps to go here in duel number 1.
He's got a teammate. Oskin, if I'm Oskin, I start dipping with Young and start to make the run right now and ditch Catano if he was smart, but he's going to stay in line. Now he ditches. Goes back up top. It's got a little fade action right now. Corey Riggs got to start blocking all lanes. The inside's got no momentum.
Looking at that back pack of 3 cars, Vince, they are losing 2 seconds a lap, so there's no chance they get caught here. Which means it's a good thing lap cars will not play a factor. Starting to see Jonathan Zorlin and Keith Rich struggle to hold touch here. See Kev Shearer even too with a little bit of a gap. Not sure if that's just a bit of a cautious attitude there with the moves we've seen made here.
Freeman
is looking to peak at 3 wide again. He's right behind Skylar Taylor. Right now the top 4. Riggs, Catano, Taylor, and Ricky Freeman Jr. Ream and Hudson behind on the out.
Corey Riggs doing a great job, as we said earlier, blocking all lanes, figuring out who has the most cars in the line, using the spotter, and going from there. That's just the way to do it. You know he's a rookie, just playing it like a veteran.
Yeah, Corey Riggs, only 2 Jerky Pro Truck Series starts to his name, and those were back in 2021.
Dylan Young seems to have the best pushing standards tonight. He knows how to push, but he's got no help in that middle line. He's going to use tire wear advantage here.
Riggs still playing all the lines. And this Richard Childress racing car, Vince, it came up right at the end of the offseason. Just kind of popped up that Richard Childress Racing was going to run 4 cars full-time this year. Originally was going to be 3 again. But they opened up this 27 car, and Corey Riggs jumped in the seat. Got Skylar Taylor now to his inside here with 4 laps to go, and Zorlin looks like he is about to lose touch with the draft.
Smart move. You're already locked in. Learned enough. Get out of the pack and just save for Sunday.
Catano giving a big push here to Corey Riggs, trying to keep himself in the top 4 of the Go homers. Meanwhile, you got Dylan Young. Dylan Young won the pole back in 2020 for the Daytona 500. And while he did not have the fastest time on qualifying day Sunday, he is looking to start on the pole once again.
Inside lane is just starting to fizzle out. I think Corey Riggs knows I would block the outside and use the top because they have strong cars. Cole, Oskin, Catano's been really strong. I think that's where you want to be. Unless Taylor starts backing up using a little trail brake.
I think the only way Lucas Catano might have a shot at getting back to the point here is if he and Riggs clear Skylar Taylor. Catano's going to need a big run, and he's going to have to make a move like Riggs did to him. But now with all these extra laps on the tires, it's going to be tough to do. You can see Colt Hudson is getting desperate, trying to make a move 4 wide. He's the first car out with 2 laps to go.
2 to go, and there's still Riggs controlling all the lanes. Catano can't clear. I think it's just going to be Riggs blocking all lanes unless Skylar Taylor has a massive run on the inside.
Ricky Freeman Jr. has been pinned on the bottom. You see Bradley Ream still on that outside line, hoping the outside can get enough of a run. You're seeing the bottom really start to have to check up.
There's
and Freeman's in dangerous territory as Catano goes for the race lead. Catano had a big run. Does he have enough to clear Corey Riggs?
Side draft coming. White flag coming in the air.
Oh, Riggs touched the wall a bit there, entering the tri-oval.
Ooh, Young 3 wide. That could be good.
Young does the same thing. Young did the same thing to Catano about 10 laps ago when Riggs took the race lead. Now it helps Catano out on the white flag.
Taylor's going to have a huge run coming from Freeman.
Now Hudson's on the outside line. Now Hudson's looking to go middle behind Seth Cole. It's still Catano, Riggs, Taylor, and Ricky Freeman Jr. making this Daytona 500. Catano's going to drift up the track just a little bit. Dylan Young's going to try to fill the hole here. Can Catano get enough of a run? Or did he just give it away to Skylar Taylor? Side by side, Taylor's going to win duel number 1. And a Red Bull Toyota will lead him to the green flag on Saturday.
Yeah, Catano played too cautiously on the outside, hoping for the run. That's what gave Taylor enough of an inside slingshot to take it home.
Ricky Freeman Jr. and Corey Riggs make the race. Bradley Ream and Colt Hudson are going home. So right now, pending what happens in duel number 2, making the race on time right now, the only one confirmed will be Trey Smith. He will start 39th. So Skylar Taylor with the duel win. 26 1/1000ths of a second the margin. As always, a close finish here in the duel race. And we'll get you guys to duel number 2 here to see who else is going to make the race via top 4 go or go home, and then who makes the race on time. Welcome back, y'all, to Daytona International Speedway. We're getting ready for Corsair duel number 2. Man, duel number 1, if you missed it, go back, check it out later. Big implications for the Daytona 500 in duel number 1. But we're gearing up and getting ready to go on to duel number 2. So expect some mentions of what happened in duel 1. Darrien Taun is on pole for duel number 2 here. Alongside him is Archibald Buttersworth. Both of these drivers are go or go home drivers and are locked in on speed. Row 2 is Nate Rogers and Andrew Rich. Row 3, Vince Freeze and Diego Yepes. Yepes, a go or go home driver with a chance to fall back on speed. Row number 4 is Logan York and Cole Deaver. By the way, Yepes started on pole for this race a year ago. And in row 5, rounding out the top 10, is Allison Liera and Logan Williams. Logan Williams, another driver who could fall back on time. The other ones in this duel that could do so are Roy Rippleton, who starts 11th, and Richard Johnson, who starts in 13th. Let's go trackside for the command, the fire engines.
Drivers, start your engines!
Command has been given. I am once again joined by my boy Vince Freeze. Vince, what do you think? Are we going to go caution free in duel number 2?
No chance, buddy. I think these guys will be a little bit more, maybe a little bit less aggressive on the wreck we saw in the first wreck, but they'll still be a big wreck. But I think we could get that fantastic finish. We saw that last year. I think this could be the year we get the fantastic finish, similar to what we saw in Duel 2 last year. And then, of course, desperation. This is it for the go or go homers. We'll see if that creates a little bit of an animosity towards the front.
So to recap, duel number 1, Skylar Taylor won the duel race. Trey Smith was wrecked out. Trey Smith locked in on his time from Sunday. However, he will have to start at the rear due to his car being wrecked out. In the past, you wouldn't necessarily have to be a top 4 finisher as the pole sitter to keep your starting spot. But due to the car being wrecked, Trey Smith will be going to a backup car, and he will start at the rear, therefore. So the same is true here for Darrien Taun. If Darrien Taun wrecks out and falls back on time, he will have to give up starting second. However, he does not have to finish top 4 here in this duel race. As long as he finishes the race as running, he will keep his second place starting position. I want to mention some of the drivers here in this duel race that have to race in on top 4. Those are Chris Harvey, Priya McShane, Owen Miles, Christian Vargas, Zachary DeLello, Benjamin Ice, Colin Cropley, Saden Davidson, and Zach Carrington. Drivers from duel number 1 that failed to qualify were... actually, hang on one second. Let me just double check something. Okay. Officially, they are Scott Roush, Sebastian Kukulon, Colt Hudson, Laura Chung, Derek Hamill, Dennis Moore, and Bradley Ream. At this time, we are unsure if Enzo Nareza, Quinton Moore, and Corey Raymond will be able to fall back on speed.
We got 4 wide, buddy.
Indeed we do. That is Roy Ribbleton and Vince Freeze there. They settled it out. They are back to 3 wide racing. Noticing a couple of drivers at the back of the field in this one, Vince, and they are both teammates out of Evans Gardner Motorsports. And that's Zachary Fitzwater Sr. in the 59 and Kate Anderson in the 77. EGM now running Toyotas for 2023.
Yeah, made that be their best chance to score a Toyota win. We always talk about how Brock was always the closest guy in Toyota camp. That might change. And I got to say, Nate Rogers getting that to a big lead. Is he playing with drafting distance this early? That's interesting.
Well, Vince, the Chevys looked pretty good in duel number 1, especially Corey Riggs. Or namely Corey Riggs, I guess I should say. But duel number 1 actually only had 4 drivers lead. They were Corey Riggs, Skylar Taylor, Lucas Catano, and then Jesse Turner, who led a single lap. The rest led 7 or more. So far, Nate looking strong here in duel 2. Archibald Buttersworth in the 33, looking to make a pass and clear him. Can't quite do it. But they will remain side by side as Darrien Taun, who we've remained focused on, has been able to stay right behind Nate, running that outside line. And we really saw, Vince, in duel 1, the outside line really started to come into play at lap 15. Now the temperatures have dropped quite a bit all of a sudden here. And these cars are going about 3 to 4 miles an hour faster in the draft. I'm expecting that outside line to maybe come in sooner, Vince. Maybe like lap 12, we'll really see it start to come in. And then at the end of duel 1, I'd say lap 25, 24 was when the top started to get strong. That might happen here in this duel around lap 20.
Yeah, with a 20-degree cold front coming into play, that actually might maybe eliminate the 4 wide. We might see 1 or 2, but it seems like because of the faster speeds, there's just not enough terminal velocity going through these cars. But right now, it's Rodgers and Taun playing a little side drafting game.
Yeah, these cars are really topping out right now on the rev limiter, so I think it's becoming harder to get the runs to make the moves. As you see Taun drop to the middle, that has opened the door for Andrew Rich to get a run on the outside line. Mentioned it on poll day, Vince. Rich Racing, Andrew Rich and Keith Rich, leaving Bulldog Motorsports over the offseason, enjoyed their time with the team. It was a positive separation. And Bulldog Motorsports and Rich Racing now good friends still on the ownership side, but looking to be competitive rivals here as Rich Racing is running Fords and not Dodges.
Yeah, you just see Nate Rodgers is really controlling this pace. Similar to what we saw with Catano in the last race, Riggs, Taylor, they controlled the pace, and no runs are being formed. He's just out there. It's crazy.
So as they run, Darrien Taun, Roy Ribbleton, Richard Johnson, and a side-by-side battle between Buttersworth and Priya McShane for the final go-or-go-home transfer position. Zachary DeLello, you can see there in the 4 on the bottom, then Yepes all the way up to his outside, are just outside of that. Then you got to go back a couple rows to the 11 of Colin Cropley on the top. On the bottom, the next one up is Saden Davidson in the 31. And in the middle, the next one up is that 99 of Logan Williams. But yeah, Vince, man, the 9 of Nate Rogers has been holding a consistent 1 to 2 car length gap over the field. I mean, that car is about as trimmed out as it was at Talladega last year.
Oh, here we go.
Priya McShane's going to make it 4 wide on Richard Johnson and Roy Ribbleton. Those two are slamming doors. Ribbleton is trying to get Richard down the track back in front of the 41, and they do just that.
Interesting note there. The scoreboard just said the 47 was lean. That is interesting to note. See if that happens again.
Just a little glitch there. Everyone's going across the line right away, Vince. Scoring sometimes, has to take a second to catch up.
Yeah, but you're right, dude. I've never seen Nate Rogers or any car like this have like an island. It's like almost like there's a bubble of air. It's crazy.
Could also wonder if it's all the side drafting of the 3 wide that is holding these guys back from getting a good enough run to make a move. We saw the one move. I'd say it was back on lap 4, Vince, and they weren't able to stick it on the inside of the 9. Now we're seeing, though, Richard Johnson and Roy Ribbleton have moved up a lane and in front of Darrien Taun. That's going to open the door for McShane and teammate Zachary DeLello. DeLello's going to make it a move. 4 wide off of turn 2. McShane and Richard Johnson now hugging doors. Can they get it clear? It looks like they will. Maybe not quite. Still 4 wide into turn 3. Will Richard be able to clear to the top here? Yes. Yep. Now the go home picture is the 4, the 41, the 47, and the 33 as Ribbleton got on the wall pretty good there off of turn 4. We've seen the cars constantly scrape the turn 4, or not the turn 4 wall, the wall before the tri-oval a lot in past years, but I have never seen someone have to check up as much as Ribbleton just did there.
Getting close to your money lap, Zach. Right outside starts to power through on lap 12. It looks like it's starting to work right now. Everyone's moving up there, migrating to the top.
Now, one thing you got to wonder, Vince, is with who we had leading the 3 lines behind the 9, none of those guys had enough to make a move on him. Now you got to wonder with some of these new guys who were stuck behind traffic coming up here, like Zachary DeLello, does somebody else have a car good enough to contend for the race lead?
Absolutely. They've caught the 9 now. I think the energy shifted in the pack toward the middle line and the inside line. Just disintegrated enough where he got caught. But I think that 9 will start using the top side and use a little side draft here and trail break to get a run.
DeLello with a pretty good run there on the middle. You see, he went to maybe make a move there, and it gave the 9 some side draft, slowed the 4 down for a split second. But now Ryan Brommer in the 37, whom we haven't seen race since 2020, he's up here looking to make a push towards a top starting position. And Vince, I really think if we can get to lap 15 or so, where the top really starts to come into play, I say this race goes caution-free.
Yeah, you're looking pretty accurate with that assessment. But I wouldn't count out Roger. I still think he has the strongest car as DeLello's playing a little air block on the lanes, and Brock's starting to move to the front here.
Also got Lane Sanders there in the 8, who was very fast here last year in the 31 car in the dual races. Just lost out to Trey Smith's number 36 car. I believe the margin of victory was like 2 1,000ths of a second or something crazy. But DeLello now playing the lanes as you said, but I think Nate is looking pretty good there on that outside line. He's just got to make sure no one clears him and jumps in front of him, or he'll be trapped.
We know that outside lane by lap 20, it'll start to overpower the inside. Definitely, the middle is probably where it can hold up. Robert's going to look low, use a little bit of that draft, and maybe try to go for the lead right here.
Got some drivers in GOGH home territory who have not really been able to make it to the front, such as Christian Vargas, Benjamin Ice, Colin Cropley. Seeing Saden Davidson now starting to creep up there in that 31 car. He's behind Henry Sanford, Lane Sanders, and William Brock, as they're starting to double file it up at the front of the field, almost like the middle is kind of becoming that funnel.
Yeah, very interesting to note, though, too. I think Oh, this might be a chance for Duel to get a little breathing room, similar to what Nate did, and start playing the lanes. Is Lane going to try forward? No.
He's been thinking about it. I've seen him peek the nose on the 19 a couple times off of turn 2. Ooh, the outside line really had trouble there before the tri-oval.
Look at that move by Nate.
Nate going to try to take the lead back here. He got a pretty good run there out of the tri-oval, and he is going to take it easily. Lane's going to make the move 4 wide here out of turn 2. Nate will clear
Pushing
the
up.
4. 1937 door banging. 19 with enough of a run. He'll clear the 8 into the corner. Not quite, but Brommer is clear of the 19. DeLello will
Change
now
the
make a
pack.
move. Brommer's going to look to follow. Maybe no. Stays with the 9.
Yeah, it changed the pack's energy. It went from cluster to cluster. Now it's starting to separate. I think this is where the top or some lines are going to start dominating. These next 6 laps are going to start to space themselves correctly here.
Now DeLello with the help from Brommer as they go 4 wide again. Now it's Saden Davidson making it 4 wide, but Henry Sanford with enough of a run clears it almost immediately. But now they are 3 wide for the race lead. Brommer on the bottom, DeLello the middle, and Nate Rogers the outside.
Fitzy Baranowski's been that inside one. We saw Fitzy at the back, starting to make his move.
17 laps down, 13 laps to go. Top 4, go or go home on the chart. The 4, the 41, the 31. Then you got to go outside the top 10 to find the 99. Darrien Taun has fallen all the way to last place, and that might be the best place to be right now. He will retain that second place starting position as long as he finishes the race. Fitzwater now up at the front of the field after being at the back on the first lap or so. He'll jump up to the middle line, though, maybe looking to get that run. That might be a smart play. Really seeing Nate work that top. Look at the gap between the 9 and the 8.
Yeah, Nate's really trimmed that. They had a good job on the setup tonight, saying it's cooler, especially really cooler conditions. Let's trim it out. Let's forget about the handling. Let's go full trim, full downforce on the car.
Priya McShane jumped up to the outside there off of turn 2, but now she's not sure if she wants to go back middle behind teammate Zachary DeLello. McShane will
Robert's still
stay
leading.
on the top. Fitzwater now right behind DeLello. Nate looking pretty good there on the top.
Yeah, coming off of 4, it seems like the top lane loses steam because they hit the wall, and that's where the energy in the pack shifts. The inside lane doesn't have to worry about the middle, can just lean off them.
Seeing the middle and the outside, Vince, are really starting to come together here. Brommer hasn't really gotten an edge on them at all. Henry Sanford is looking to make it 4 wide off the corner. Brommer with the run will hold it 3. See Fitzwater really pushing DeLello as the outside line gets checked up there out of the tri-oval.
And Nate lost a little bit. Here comes DeLello. Brommer they start to shift up now. That's the characters.
DeLello shifts up in front of Nate Rogers. That puts Brommer up to the middle. Henry Sanford now leading the bottom.
Was air blocking a little bit. What a great run by Sanford using that inside line, short distance.
DeLello back to the middle. That might open the door for the 9. Ooh, Liera got really out of whack from touching the wall there. They've really been getting out of whack in this duel race, Vince, unlike anything I've seen before, and I'm wondering if it's the temperature doing that. Might be a little cold up there against the wall.
Once again, Liera had really big space between Liera and Sanders as they're starting to file back in line. The inside's really starting to lose a little bit of that luster, though, compared to the start. I think you want to be the middle outside now.
As I said before, I really think it was going to happen sooner in Duel 2 here than it did in Duel 1, and that seems to be what is occurring. As McShane now on the outside line behind the 9, but the outside just keeps getting into the wall, Vinster. Like I've said, they've gotten into the wall all the time in the past few years, but they have never lost their momentum like this before.
I don't know where you want to be tonight. It seems like the outside is where you want to be until you get the 4 into the tri-oval, whereas the inside is probably better in the 1 into the backstretch, and then the middle line just drags back until they get to the tri-oval into 4. It could be a crapshoot at the end of the day here.
Now remember, Zachary DeLello has to race in to make the Daytona 500. He is in a great spot here. Saden Davidson in the same boat there. He is second in line on the bottom. Priya McShane third in line on the outside. And then it's a 3-wide battle there. Lane Sanders is locked in, but Archibald Buttersworth and Christian Vargas are currently fighting for that last spot.
You can just see the outside just loses because they hit the wall, but then they Constantine back up. Fitzwater's jumping up, though. That's big.
Outside line is starting to... I'm starting to see a huge run from the outside here. DeLello's going to go middle here in the 3 and 4. Not sure if that was the way to go. Nate has quite the run right now that he is developing.
It's in the wall, though.
Can he block it? Not quite. I think you got to block it here. Yep. DeLello is hesitating a bit, though. 6 laps to go that time by. And we have managed to go green.
So it's definitely still showing up. I don't think Sanford, Davidson, Baranowskis, Vargas are out of this yet. I think they still got a shot because these guys keep playing games at the top and hitting the wall. And Fitzwater can't seem to close in on Nate. Nate's just on a different level.
You got 4 Chevrolets from different teams lined up on the inside line. And the outside got checked up again there. But the 9 and the 4 have looked like the strongest cars in Duel 2, Vince. I think they could be okay 2-car tandeming this against the Chevys on their inside. Archibald Buttersworth has returned to the front. He might be looking to race his way in instead of falling back on speed.
Went to the top. He went to. That's interesting. Now it separates Rodgers and Fitzy with Buttersworth, who's a little bit more desperate. Maybe that will push the envelope, or maybe he'll settle in here. We'll find out.
It's now the 4, the 31, and we're going to go 4 wide.
I don't think so. I think they should settle it out. Yep.
Settles out. 4 to go. It's DeLello in the lead. Buttersworth in 5th.
Oh, Rodgers.
Big move by Nate Rogers. Buttersworth 5th. Saden 6th. And 11th was Priya McShane. Those were the 4 that time by at the line. Seeing a bit of a split up here at the front of the field from this move by the 9. Vince Henry Sanford is only 2 wide right now. That's going to let Saden Davidson make a move here on the bottom.
Oh, we got 4 wide almost.
Audra's got to run too. Oh, contact.
Oh, what? They saved it. Incredible.
Oh, I thought they were going to go straight into the wall with Saden taking a nosedive into it. 3 to go. Saden now in a great spot.
DeLello repaid a favor.
Yeah, there's the move. Stop talking over me, man.
Too exciting.
Remember who the play-by-play announcer is. All jokes aside, DeLello will clear Nate Rogers here for the lead.
They're just going back and forth. This is pure chess.
Man, they weren't really passing that much earlier, Vince, but now, like you said, it's the end of the race, and they are just back and forth, back and forth. Saden Davidson is now on the top, Vargas on the middle, and I think this constant back and forth, Vince, has kind of killed the momentum up the top.
Audra is now a new player into the mix. She looks pretty quick here, starting to break away.
2 laps to go. Man, 42 nines at one point here in the draft tonight. But Nate Rogers is the leader, and there's that bubble, Vince.
Yeah, he's creating it for sure.
The go or go home picture is starting to heat up here as they're settling down to maybe 2 wide at the front. It's still DeLello, then Davidson. Then it looks like it's side-by-side Buttersworth and Vargas, 3rd and 4th as they hit the white flag. We're going all the way green here in duel number 2. Just like a year ago. DeLello with a move. There it is. Move for the lead with help from Baranowskis.
And Riders trail back to Davidson, get a big run on the top, though. Answered right now is no. He'll have to use the sides wrap. But he's coming back.
Audra with a run. Henry Sanford's looking low. Side by side into turn 3. Can Nate get a run? Davidson's going to be pinned to his back bumper here. Here it comes. Side by side. Coming to the checkered flag. Nate DeLello. It's too close to call. They're giving it to Nate Rogers. Whoo! Boy, I don't want to look at this margin of victory, but 1/1000th of a second. I believe that's 2nd year in a row. Wow.
That's racing at its finest, baby. That's Daytona finishes.
The dual races never fail to disappoint. They never fail to disappoint. Wow. Racing their way in to the Daytona 500. Zachary DeLello. Saden Davidson. Christian Vargas. And Archibald Buttersworth. Which means Darrien Taun will fall back on time. He will still start 2nd since he finished the race. He finished 21st here. Diego Yepes will fall back on time. And then Enzo Nereza from duel number 1 will fall back on time. So that means Logan Williams, Quinton Moore, Roy Rippleton, Corey Raymond, and Richard Johnson, who were all in a chance to make it, do not qualify. And that is because you had DeLello, Davidson, Vargas make this race. And they had to make it. They had to make it. Some notable names we'll see start at the back that were locked in include Allison Liera, who finished 28th in this duel race. Andrew Rich finishing 20th. That'll be the really fun part, Vince, is figuring out who is going to start where.
Yeah, we'll have to sort that out in race control, see where we go from there.
Man, oh man. We're going to have to take a look at that finish one more time in slow motion. Looking at this in half speed, you got Nate Rogers 209, DeLello 208, DeLello with the edge into turn 3. See, what was really big here, I think, Vince, was Davidson, Brommer closing up to the bumper of Nate. DeLello was kind of straddling the bottom and the middle here, and that might have hurt him. You see, Nate was able to turn down as he came off the turn. 207 for him, 205 for DeLello. There, it's 208. DeLello finally gets paired up with Audra. And then as you go slow motion, the 4 had it right there, but then right here, give it to the 9, and boom. By an inch, maybe less. And that is how we'll end the video with the game crashing. See you for Jerky Pro, everybody.